The new Perfect Dark game seems to have taken its espionage theme a little too seriously, in that it has remained almost entirely under the radar since it was first revealed at the Game Awards back in 2020.
I remember when everything changed. The floods, the storms, the fires, people dying in the streets.
For 4 years, all we heard were reports of its troubled development and how lead developer The Initiative fell out with co-developer Certain Affinity. Ironically, it seemed to be a complete lack of affinity causing the issues. So imagine our surprise when the 2024 Xbox Showcase served up a brand new gameplay-focused trailer for a game we assumed we wouldn't be playing for another 4 years. Perfect Dark's new co-developer is Crystal Dynamics, who have experience with another beloved female lead character in Tomb Raider, and this new Perfect Dark seems closer to a Deus Ex-style immersive sim, but with the mobility of a Mirror's Edge game.
I thought it would be like any other mission. I was wrong.
But although the new gameplay trailer tells us a lot, it doesn't tell us the whole story. So, having consulted our own network of spies, here are the 7 things you need to know about Perfect Dark that the gameplay trailer didn't spell out for you. You might remember Daniel Carrington from the previous Perfect Dark games as your avuncular boss, head of the Carrington Institute, and a guy who is happy to answer a holo call in a full kilt. I dread to think what the holo projector is having to render underneath that thing. The biggest surprise in the new trailer is that Daniel Carrington is clearly marked as Joanna Dark's target. What's more, it's implied he's threatening to attack a research facility.
Carrington appears to be targeting a research facility. If he attacks it, the casualties could be astronomical.
A post published on Xbox Wire adds a bit more context. According to the article, the dev team has, quote, pulled inspiration from elements of the first 2 games, but crafted an entirely new story and universe around them for this reboot. So if you were expecting just a soft reboot that told a new story in a familiar universe, then buckle up for big changes. I mean, Carrington's not even Scottish anymore.
Agent Dark, it's a pleasure to meet you.
All this said, in a story about intrigue, we'd be surprised if Carrington is straight up evil. Given how the trailer narration mentions the life you think you know turning out to be a lie, don't rule out the plot twist where he turns out to be a good guy and you end up working for him once more.
When the life we think we know turns out to be a lie, there's only one way forward. Find the truth.
Speaking of big changes to established Perfect Dark lore, how about another big change to establish Perfect Dark lore? As evidenced by the Double D logo in your heads-up display, in this Perfect Dark you're working for mega corporation Datadyne, at least to begin with. It's them dropping you into Cairo, and their commander feeding you updates in the field.
Your target is in possession of a radioactive device. Stop Carrington's attack at all costs.
In the original Perfect Dark, Datadyne was a shady defense contractor, a rival to the Carrington Institute, and it transpires in alliance with evil aliens.
If you're caught on the ground when the freak gets you, you won't stand a chance.
That's a mistake I don't intend to make.
Are we expecting another extraterrestrial conspiracy in the reboot? It's possible this Perfect Dark is dialing in an entirely different sci-fi flavour themed on the eco-technology and natural disasters referenced throughout the new trailer and the short reveal trailer we had all the way back in 2020.
But the laws of nature aren't meant to be broken.
Word from inside the developer says the initial goal with the reboot was to tell an ambitious story that could be mentioned in the same breath as Westworld and Game of Thrones, and to be honest, we can't imagine either of those prestige shows introducing a pantsless alien called Elvis.
I don't believe it!
Elvis? However, the repeated inclusion in both trailers of the ancient Egyptian pyramids and the newspaper articles on Carrington's electronic pinboard mentioning an eco-tech startup doing a dig in the remains of Giza might just hint at a plot that leads in the direction of the pyramids and some ancient alien-type extraterrestrials. In any case, on the subject of Datadyne, what with the trailer narration implying Joanna discovering her life is a lie, and given how at the end of the reveal trailer she was perched atop an exploding skyscraper identified by its logo as Datadyne's, we're betting JD parts ways with Datadyne early on. spite of its futuristic appearance in the trailer, Garden City is actually a part of real-world Cairo. In the game, though, this is a location that has clearly been affected by the global environmental disaster that's central to the setting. The story goes, Cairo has wound up as a testing ground for the technology designed to fix things. A corporation called Core Mantis, which sounds less like a business and more like an early draft Kojima character, has selected Garden City specifically to be restored by their eco-technology known as the Gen Network.
Welcome to Garden City, where it's a pleasant 23 degrees all day, every day.
And conceptually reminiscent of trillion-dollar projects like NEOM and The Line in Saudi Arabia, megacity projects designed to use technology to turn vast areas of desert into habitable space. What wasn't clear from the trailer was whether this Cairo location was a single level or the whole setting for the game, but the Xbox Wire post appears to confirm the game is entirely set within the city of Cairo. The section of the article that talks about the setting is literally called "Where is the game set?" and it appears to confirm the Cairo setting when it goes on to say the setting was chosen to offer a counterpoint to other secret agent stories and media at large. Ancient Egypt and modern Egypt have been seen by many, but a near-future take on the country is truly something new. Cairo itself allows for a balance of deeply old and startlingly new that suits the speculative fiction at the heart of Perfect Dark. It's a change from the globe-trotting style of the previous two games, but may allow the game to tell a more focused story with a greater sense of place. Based on the fact that the gameplay portion of the trailer begins at a transit station and the inclusion of a transit map at Daniel Carrington's hideout, we're anticipating reasonably large levels set in different districts of the city, which you can travel between. As a way of getting around, it's at least got to be more comfortable than squirrel suiting through a sandstorm. In the original Perfect Dark games, Joanna had earned the codename Perfect Dark because she got perfect scores in spy training, which is just as well because you don't want to be 9 out of 10 dark. In contrast to the earlier games though, this new version of Joanna Dark will purportedly be a more three-dimensional character who is rougher around the edges, making mistakes along the way. An imperfect Dark, if you will. And also in contrast to Perfect Dark Zero, with the vibes of this reboot, Joanna Dark is extremely unlikely to be dressed like she just got back from an audition for a 90s girl band. Hard luck, fans of combat trousers. The voice of this new, still lightly posh Joanna Dark is Alex Wilton Regan, who you might remember from such games as Assassin's Creed Origins, Mass Effect 3, and Cyberpunk 2077.
I have recognized your engram code, but I do not know why you are here.
Joanna's likeness, meanwhile, is lifted from Hamburg-based model Elissa Bibaud, with Jo's iconic red hair and blonde streak still present, but muted, presumably so enemies don't clock her bright orange barnet from 3 blocks away. We've covered some ways the new Perfect Dark is different, but there are old favourites in the mix too, including the pistol in the trailer. This sidearm is clearly the MagSec 4 from the original game, with the same distinctive shape and the same 3-round burst fire capability. The MagSec was a fave of ours from the original game because though it wasn't terribly accurate at a distance, it had better stopping power than the Falcon pistol you started with. This time though, the MagSec has a secondary mode that turns it into a taser. You can see the 2 firing options down in the bottom right. This presumably non-lethal option suggests that, a bit like in Deus Ex, you might be able to do a full no-kill pacifist run. Also check out the logo of Joe Dark's employer Datadyne on the pistol. Now, we're no experts in espionage, but feels like making your gun more identifiable is a bit of a security risk. Post-apocalyptic futures and dystopian cities are par for the course in gaming, but Perfect Dark is doing things a little differently, despite beginning with an environmental cataclysm called the Cascade. So bad news, the Cascade was a series of individual ecological disasters that rendered large portions of the world uninhabitable. Good news, following that eco-downer, massive corporations stepped up to solve the world's problems with technology. Bad news, massive tech corporations somehow aren't altruistic paragons and have agendas of their own. This shakes out as a somewhat hopeful near-future setting rather than a gritty dystopia where we find gleaming eco-futuristic cities underpinned by corruption because massive tech corporations can't be trusted. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. Perfect Dark's voice gadget is introduced as a deepfake device for unlocking voice-activated doors, which is handy, but vocal analysis is far from its only function. You also briefly see how the tool displays details about the security guard, and apparently this profiling will be key to figuring out how to achieve your objectives. Also, apparently, you can use the gadget for general impersonation of characters as a distraction, or you might have noticed in the trio of mode icons on the lower left of the interface, the gizmo also has a manipulation mode used for, yes, manipulating people.
I'm looking at the screen right now.
The third mode at the bottom appears to be a dizzy or confused person, so possibly that's some kind of stun function. Perhaps we'll find out in the next trailer, which hopefully won't be another 4 years in the making. There you have it, the key details the trailer didn't tell you about what's going on in this new version of Perfect Dark. There's still no release date, but it's encouraging to see snippets of actual gameplay. Are you going to play it when it finally arrives? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to Outside Xbox for more when we have it.